Right, we're back for another episode of Hot Take Point Made. We have to get Milter in a little bit on this one because we have more limited circumstances. You might find out during this episode what I mean by that. Let's see if anything strange happens. Let's just leave it out there. Let's just hype people. Like, you know, who knows what could happen down the line? It's like Final Destination or something. Every moment you're going to be wondering, is this the moment that Thorin said? No, but then you'll know when it is. So anyway, who has the best hot take to start with? Let's just get right into it, boys.
Oh, let me go. Let me go. Yeah, let me go. All right. Okay, this one I did a little bit of research on. I looked back at a discussion that Thorin and I had a few years ago.
Did you do research, or did you just get one of your minions on the internet to do research? Which is it for real?
No.
It's playing, Duncan.
It's not that.
Okay.
You know? It's not that like kind of.
All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Fair enough.
It's not stats. It's just that I had to look back at the conversation that you and I had in 2023 about Twist and Elige to make sure that I really got the GOAT criteria.
Well, I already like it.
Okay. I see where you're going here.
Okay. So considering the criteria that we had then for Twist versus Elige, and really any semblance of greatest of all time criteria, it is without a doubt at this point for me that even if Donk were to stop his career today, and in general, just who he is as a player, he is the greatest rifler of all time.
I mean, can we have some reasons?
Wait.
If Donk retires today, he is the greatest rifler of all time. Now continue, make the point.
Yes.
Now make some points.
Okay. So the points are when we talk. So thinking about other riflers that are in the GOAT conversation, the first name that comes up all the time is Nico. Nico has been hailed by a lot of people. I think a lot of people, including who's in this call right now, as being the greatest before. And when talking about GOAT criteria, some of the aspects that Thorin and I brought up when we had that kind of conversation a couple years ago was comparing peaks. Donk's peak as a rifler has already surpassed Nico's. He has been the best player of the year in the prior year. Nico was never the best player in any year. You could make a case if you really, really want to, that doesn't involve HLTV stats or maybe all the achievements that had him finishing in some of the lower ranks. But even in terms of in terms of the eye test, Nico versus Donk, I mean, what Donk is doing and how fast he's killing people is, to me, in terms of if I want to just go my own eye test, Donk is the most insane rifler I've ever seen. So that if you want to challenge that, that's also fine. It's a little bit subjective. And then if you want to look at career choices, career achievements, it's something that the longevity of his career hasn't really even merited yet, but he's just done it all with the single team. When he first joined from Spirit Academy to Spirit, they won a Bet Boom event with Art Frost, but then they replaced him. They got Shiro. And if even you look at the circumstances of how he's winning the tournaments that he's winning, he only has one other top 10 player on his team at the time. So it's not like he's getting significant help. Like last year when he was number 1 in the world, he had Shiro beside him, who was a top 10 player in my eyes. But Zontix was not, Magix was not, Chopper was not. I wouldn't even have put really Chopper in I think Chopper was maybe the 3rd or 4th best in-game leader of last year, depending how you want to rate him. But he definitely just didn't have the most stacked team ever. So it's not like the accolades that he's collecting are based on team success. And if anything, Donk probably has the best win over replacement of anybody in the scene right now. If you replace all the other star players right now on other rosters, it's very hard to imagine that they won't have similar amounts of success. Mostly talking about what's going on with Vitality. If you replace, because we already know when Vitality has Spinks instead of Rops, yes, they're worse, but they can still win tournaments. They still won Cologne. But if you put an average entry rifler, like if you put even Prime Yakindar on Spirit instead of Donk, they are not winning the quantity or the caliber of tournaments that they have so far. I think the main selling point for this is just the peak of Donk's rifling is just on another level. Rating 2.1 was supposed to nerf people's ratings. In fact, people on average lost 0.03 or 0.04 rating when they went from 2.0 to 2.1, and he's still breaking records or tying records for ratings across all of the tournaments that he's playing. And he's playing a style that always as a I don't know anybody in the space that said, "Oh yes, entry fragging. This is something that you can consistently do, and the entry fragger should always be putting up really high numbers." In fact, it was mostly perceived as a sacrificial role that you were going to have you're basically going to have polarizing individual play from tournament to tournament. So for Donk to have this level of consistency, it may not be 3, 4, 5 years right now, but the peak of it is so absurdly high over the calendar, the 18 months that he's been playing at this level, that he's the greatest rifler of all time for me.
Oh, first of all, you're insane. You're definitely insane to think that you can, put him in if he retires today, he will be the GOAT sentence, right? Now, you are smart on the other hand, and your point makes sense perfectly to me, because my take was going to be that Donk is going to be the GOAT of CS2 no matter what happens in the next 5-6 years. Because this kid is legitimately, what he does is not human. Like, I have spent the last month and a half watching all of his pugs that I can watch on YouTube, with comms, without comms. Then I watched his games in official matches, obviously, from the last season, and Cologne this season. And what he does is it's the same on pugs as it is on games. Obviously, the style of the playing is a little bit different. There's some bad things that you can see when he plays pugs, but it's like whatever. His comms, I don't know, how they sound in team environment, but on Face It, they're all right. Speaking English, all right. That doesn't really matter when it comes to skill. But what he does in general is just not from this world. Like, he's the next generation of a perfect player. When Messi and Ronaldo came in, that was the 2001, 2, whatever the 3 was, when they showed up, or maybe even 5. I can't remember this time. But when they showed up, you can immediately see it's something different that we didn't see at all. Yes, Nico is a all-time generational potential GOAT and everything. ZywOo, on the other hand, is like the opera and stuff and everything else. But this kid is just... It's unbelievable how easy he makes it look like. Like, every crosshair placement, every rotation, every shot, every multi-kill, everything looks so easy that you might think that you can do it. You go out on a server, you just, it's not possible. You see that it's not possible for average or above average player, or even like closer to a star player. A bunch of star players right now, they cannot do what he does. And but to say like 3 seasons in or a year and a half in that if he drops it now, he's going to be the GOAT, that's a no for me. But if he continues on the same path, or even if he drops a little bit, he's definitely going to be the GOAT, and there's not going to be a contender. Maybe ZywOo can be, Messi to his Ronaldo, or Ronaldo to his Messi, whatever, whoever you prefer.
Make sure I'm clarifying. GOAT rifler.
It doesn't matter for me, like, okay. A rifler or a player. He can be the GOAT player. Like, he can also op if he wants to. Not as well as ZywOo, but ZywOo cannot rifle as well as Donk. Like, it's, and the roles are different. But overall, I think he's just the number one contender, or like favorite, whatever you want to call it, for the GOAT in the CS2, and I don't know what comes after. In CSGO, it's obviously simple and nobody can touch him. It's the same way we couldn't like compare ZywOo to him, because ZywOo was like 1-2 years there, and it was like online era and whatever. It's simple. Then Nico, and now it's gonna be Donk and Nico, and maybe I don't know. Probably not Monesi, but maybe Nico. I don't know. Definitely, I agree with the GOAT part, but if he drops it right now, he's not even in the conversation.
The problem with this topic is this. First of all, I don't know what it's already a way less sexy topic when I just reframe immediately that like Nico isn't the GOAT of anything in CS2. So do you mean CSGO plus CS2, presumably?
Yeah,
I would include.
Okay.
Yeah, I would include just Well, I've just started saying the modern era, which is just CSGO and CS2.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as we have a term for it. Because, spoiler, I think if we're using all versions of CS, mate, Neo might be just the GOAT of all CS. Like, what are we even talking about? Like, that guy was but if you don't know, Riflers ruled fucking 1.6. That was like all the elite players pretty much in history. My top 3 were all Riflers. Like, you had AWPers, but they were like secondary components because, the game just required so much more. So, if we're doing CSGO, essentially what you said is Donk didn't play CSGO. So, what we're basically saying is Donk already in CS2 is better than everything Nico's done in CS2 and CSGO, right? That's not actually that fucking sexy a take in this sense. I always thought that thing of like, Nico, you're definitely the GOAT rifler, right? That was invented for real to just make up for the fact he didn't win the major. I hope everyone is aware of that. That isn't a hot take. Like, that take wasn't a thing anyone ever said until it got to the years where it had been 5-6 years he hadn't won the major, and everyone already said the AWPers were the GOATs of CSGO because the people like Simple had already had all the number 1 of the year and all the trophies and stuff. So what people did was, in the same way as if you were to say to Zipnix, you're the greatest clutch player of that, what you really say is, look, you know why they're the GOAT, mate, but you can be the GOAT clutch player. There you go. That's something, right? It's like a fucking, like a silver medal, basically. There you go. It's have something. And so one thing I always thought was whack was this. Like, if I had to pick my GOAT rifle, I might pick Nico, but the funny thing is, I'm not doing it for the same reason other people did, because most people give it to Nico and say there's no debate, because they just mean you have more years as an elite rifler than anyone else, and he does. In CSGO, he has more than anyone. Partly because, by the way, a lot of his rivals for that title like either had very short peaks or, like in the case of Get Right, he'd already had a whole half a career in fucking 1.6. Like, he was never going to get like 8 years in CSGO. He got like 2 or 3 before he dropped off quite heavily because he'd already had 2 or 3 that were mega 1.6. So again, if we count only CSGO, basically your competition was like Get Right at the very beginning of the game, Cold Zero, but you had like a whole team around him and he never looked as good without his team. And then the other one actually is 1 year of Olofmeister, but it's only that 1 year. Now, here's the thing. The reason I always had Nico as the GOAT rifle is just based on eye test and what he did at his peak, like we're talking about. So I was never personally going off longevity, because if you watch, almost every single sport has someone that uses longevity and it will just break the metric completely. Like, the obvious example is LeBron in basketball. If you think longevity is the most important thing, then he has to be the GOAT. No one else can even compete, right? But I don't think... Here's the real problem I have. When you say greatest of all time, 99% of people I've learned from talking to them mean your career was great. They don't mean great as in you're really good at the game. They mean great as in you accomplished great things. That's why almost every GOAT player has loads of rings and MVPs and individual accolades. So the problem with that is, if you're asking, like, can he be... Well, he's already better than Nico by that logic. In fact, I would say the best case to go towards a Kassad's angle, that, like, he might already be the GOAT of Counter-Strike, or he's going to be in the future, is he's the only rookie or young player I've ever seen that was super skilled, but no longer has a single question that goes, well, he hasn't done this. He's done it all, mate. He's literally done it all. Normally you go, even simple, yeah, but eventually he has to carry a major final. He's already done it all. He's carried all the finals, or literally all of them. Cologne, Katowice, he's done it all. But here's the 2 angles I'll quickly say on this topic. I would just say this. The reason why I think most people won't let you be the GOAT of 1 or 2 years, like the Olofmeister example, if you know, in 2015, he was really amazing. It wasn't just like stats-wise, impact on what he did in the game. But the real problem is this. I think it's a sample size issue. Because what if Olofmeister, this is just an example, calm down, what if he'd actually died on like the 25th of December 2015, right? Logically, we'd actually all rate him way higher than we do now, because we saw the years later and he wasn't close to as good. In fact, he got worse every year. And so I would just say this, in the same way as if we don't take Simple's early years and go, well, you can't be the GOAT because in the early years you failed. You can't take Donk just doing it for 1 or 2 years and then act like he never has to do it in any other years. What if in the next 5 years after, like Cold Zero, he just dropped off, right? So I think, to be fair, here's the thing. I think what most people mean by GOAT should probably have a sample size of 3 or 4 years. That's a reasonable run of time, you know, to have your ups and downs, different teams, etc. Also, you have to be fucking really excellent to maintain that level. But with that said, the last thing to say is this. Everyone can have different GOATs, and here's why. Because I actually think what most people mean by the GOAT player for real is if somehow you could go into an alternate dimension where everyone is 25 and we can all play the exact same game somehow at our peaks, this player would be the best player that ever played the game. I think that's what most people mean, right? Well, that alone doesn't need to have years and years. You could just take, like I said, just 1 year. If Olofmeister 2015 could somehow enter this parallel, maybe he would be the GOAT. Maybe he'd have all the versatility and do all the stuff. So I think actually you can totally say a short amount of time, if it's extremely insane, is good enough. Because that's why I think the longevity angle doesn't work, Maui. The reason why the longevity angle was like always tenuous for Nico is which Nico are we taking to be this GOAT rifler? That's what I mean. It can't just be, well, it's because he did it for 8 years. No, which one? Tell me like a 6-month period. Tell me a year or something. Tell me like a specific period where that one version of Nico was the best. And if I put that against every other rifler, it's just better. Because I think that's the one thing I would say to this discussion. A lot of people get to be... The reason why I personally don't ever have Device as my GOAT is because the way I immediately eliminated from that conversation is, was he ever the best player in the world? Briefly, Thorin was the only person who ever argued in 2015 he might have been the best player in the world, or maybe at the end of 2016, but it wasn't like a big consensus. So realistically, I don't care how many majors you win. If I couldn't ever take you out and put you in this dimension and have you beat Simple, were you really the GOAT, or did you just have a better career? So yeah, I think it's, by the way, I think it's a totally valid discussion. I also think I agree. Like, I actually go more off peak and like what you did in like a short period than... Again, this is why what I've done, if you notice, to very quickly wrap up, is I've divided the discussion now. I do GOAT for the career resume, and then I call it BOAT. I didn't invent it. It comes from MMA and sports. It means best of all time. The best of all time is just whoever the best player was. Like, don't give a... If Donk went to fucking Ents now and never won a single trophy more, maybe he's the BOAT anyway. Maybe he's just the best player to ever play the game. I think it's totally valid. And I won't go into the whole thing about his style of play and all the rest of it, by the way. We can talk about that another time.
Yeah, if we get into style of play, I would just almost I think one of the ideas that I came into this space with, one of the axioms I founded all of my analysis on, was that getting entries is the hardest job for anybody, and doing it with consistency is almost just out of the question. And Donk completely changed how I felt about the game and how I think a lot of people even looked at it. That now, it almost just feels like, are entry fraggers that buffed in CS2, or is Donk just psyoping everybody?
I always tell people this, Maui. The part people miss is this: there's almost a perfect A/B testing, because you can. Here's the thing: no matter you pick who you think the best AWP is it ZywOo? Was it Monty last year? Whoever you want to be the best AWP, right? The difference is the other best AWPers are quite close. Like, I've seen Monty do things ZywOo did, and vice versa. The joke is, if you actually go and talk to them for real, all the players people think are like Donk, Xertion, fucking pick whatever aggressive rifler, they all revere what Donk. They doesn't know how Donk's doing it, mate. Like, I actually think
nobody knows.
The gap for rifler is bigger than AWP, which doesn't even make sense. You'd think the AWP gap would be the biggest, but it isn't, bizarrely. It used to be fair.
The only one more thing that before we close it out is like you compare Donk now, his peak now, because this is the best we have ever seen from him, right? Maybe we can go higher and even more impossible, right? And you compare it with peak Nico, whatever you said the span of 8 years, peak whatever his prime was. Donk is doing it better.
By the way, I don't think it's like as crazy as people think, though. Like, I think people do forget. There's the problem. In the latter years, I don't think Nico was... I know stats-wise he had amazing stats, but I always thought in the latter years Nico was playing more for the team and stuff. If we're talking peak, because we are going back like 2017 or something like that, 2018.
Yes. Even if
for me, early phases when he was his best, you know.
Maybe, yeah. Late Mouse, early phase. That would be the cutoff. But the thing is, like, let's say you said Cold Zera 2016, was it 17?
Yeah.
All that he did there, Donk is doing better, even though there are different types of players.
Yeah.
2018 or 17 was Olof. 2015 was Olof. Yeah. He's doing it better. Like, all of these like prime players, maybe the only one who can contest him in the insanity of his frags and plays is Simple.
Yeah.
Because he was also Simple played with an AWP, which is a kind of a different aspect. But the only one who can match the insanity of Donk is the Simple, 2018, 19?
It's why the point I make is the one that people miss is we're so used to careers being like a movie where you have to wait till halfway in the movie to know how it's going to end and what's going on. People miss what I just said earlier. Normally, every rookie you can go, but you haven't done it. He's done everything. He's already done it all. He's already carried all the finals too. That's the maddest part. He hasn't even, the joke is.
Exactly.
This is why if you're a ZywOo fan, you are just bitter, because you guys, it's the other way around. You guys try to find every game this guy did badly and then say his career is done or something. Like, mate, he's had about 6 bad games ever or something at this point in time.
Carried Cologne, carried Katowice, played well on the major. He won it all, and he's 18. It's insane.
Yeah. And I actually even think Donk doesn't even have the same. What's funny about Donk in this discussion is I actually think his raw level of play, this is the last thing I'll say is this, his raw level of play within the space of one event is now making people recontextualize the entire player of the year discussion, even though by every traditional metric, ZywOo's already won it. If you know how that works, like, because he has the stats and all the trophies and all the MVPs. But what's funny is, I'm not doing that. What's funny is, I didn't even make the donk narrative, you dickhead fans. I wanted Morgster to be the fucking GOAT of CS2. That was my pick. Like, it's simple to come back. I don't even choose. The joke is, donk is just undeniable, and pretty much everyone just gives it up to him. I'll tell you the real question, but sadly we'll never get it because he doesn't get pressed in interviews. I'd actually like to know what ZywOo actually thinks of donk. Not in some shit interview like, he is a good player. I'd like to know, for real, like, get him to lay it out. Like, what do you think of his stuff? Could you do what he does? Could he do what you do? That'd be a great discussion. There's a little idea for yourself if you ever do all those podcasts. Get those players together and have them all discuss, or ask what they do differently from each other, or what if you were in his team? How hard would you? That's what would be fucking fire. Not the answer. Now, if you like to listen to us, and obviously you do, but obviously you like to watch our beautiful faces, you can use wonderful Raycon everyday classic earbuds, can't you? I've got them right here. They're really good. They've got excellent sound quality for the price point. They also have active noise cancellation, in case you want to shut out all the outside noise and not hear anything annoying while you're listening to the latest hot takes, the latest fan takes, all the stuff that we talk about on this show. They have 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery, so you can basically have them all the time. And they have thousands and thousands of mega reviews online. Yeah, they're a classic. They're one of the best-selling ones that they have, but they're excellent. And also, crucially, if you go to buyraycon.com/hottake, all one word, you get 20% off the fan favourite Everyday Earbuds Classic. So that's 20% off their Everyday Earbuds Classic, buyraycon.com/hottake. Thank you for sponsoring this episode. Thank you to anyone who buys some Raycon. Let us continue on, including if you are listening on Raycons. As I predicted, I didn't predict, I knew this would happen. Unfortunately, Maui has an issue where basically his laptop battery is run out of power. So we have to use the phone now, like he's calling in as like a correspondent on the ground. Like, I'm here at the Blast Bounty online thing. Donk is in fact, yes, the GOAT. There's been shelling from the resistant uprising. Like, anyway, whatever. So we're doing this. So even though it's going to be scuffed as fuck, we're going to continue the episode with him calling in all weird like this and just pretend like nothing's happening. So go there, Kassad. What's your point?
And the reason for that is because like Blast, they took his charger away so he couldn't do the proper show.
He wasn't a good employee. Exactly. He wasn't a good employee.
Yeah.
That's not even what happened. I just forgot it at the studio.
Yeah, it's all good.
Forgot it. Yeah, cool. Anyway, my point is going to be that short, but like I think people will, maybe, I don't know. Maybe you won't agree, Duncan. But the thing is, like, I'm going to say that Falcons won't win an event this year, event that makes sense. And I'm going to even include the Esports World Cup, and I'm going to include the if they play any PGL. The only one that I'm not going to include is Fissure and Yalas and Bad Booms and whatever, right? Like, that's the one that I don't care about. But any other real events, including ESLs, PGLs, Blast, they won't win a single thing. The reason for that is that I have watched their games after the break. Like, after the break is the time where you know, the boot camp, no PC boot camp, whatever the fuck you do, right? I mean, and you obviously have time to do things in the boot camp to make yourself look decent on the event, even if the competition is a little bit stronger at this point, considering you made a change and whatever. What I saw in those games is not tier 1, is barely even tier 2. The only thing that kept them like going is the sheer pure raw skill from the players they have, you know, and the superstars they have. The amount of this disconnected place and lack of any kind of structure, any kind of execution, any kind of idea or any kind of mechanical practice, or how do you want to phrase it, in a sense that they're missing smokes. They're like the most basic smokes, like the doors for Dust 2 or stuff like that, like very simple things. And at the end, without any idea, getting any spacing around, just running around, no spacing, no trading potential, no utility being used properly. It just looked like a team that is there to play 3.9 or 4.1K Elo on Faceit, and just going to play one map and just going to go and play a different map and whatever, right? The amount of and the lack of any kind of fundamentals is just show me that what makes me wonder what the fuck did they do on that bootcamp. Okay, I understand the drawing of the fucking doodles on the board on the fucking no PC whatever couple of days, but what about the rest of the days? Did you actually do something in game? because if you look at their game, you will see that there is nothing going on except for people headshotting, like Yosuke acing on Dust 2 Furia, and like some people like doing some crazy shit that gets them to be a little bit competitive. Now, that doesn't mean in 2026 they won't fix that, or maybe later this season. But whatever they do now, I don't think it's going to be enough to compete with the likes of Vitality, that is a little bit like in a knockdown right now, but still, consider the number one team. The team that is obviously Spirit, now with a new player, and I've been in Cologne and probably confidence riding high. And then you have Maus and then Mongols, who obviously destroyed them easily in that Cologne after the break. Even they said that, I don't know if it's true or not, but they said like they had, didn't have a lot of practice, whatever. So, but they still dominated them. So many teams that can actually just run over them. And the only saving grace for them is that raw skill. With raw skill on one event, you actually can win the event, maybe. But I'm betting against it, so I'm going to say no tier 1 or any relevant events for Falcons.
With this roster?
With this roster till the end of this year. So, for the ongoing season.
Okay. Go on, Maui.
Okay, so your caveats or your exceptions were not any kind of Fisher event. Did you include PGL
No, he
events?
said he can win PGL.
You can win it? Okay, I mean, it's tough to say because, I mean, I know that first Cologne was not what I had expected from them. I mean, it was shocking in its own way because Kyosuke was so out of this world in terms of his individual play, but in terms of the lack of cohesion and how they lost a handful of rounds that just kind of felt sort of unlosable. And you think that the innate teamwork of some of these players would have overcome or just made it so that the rounds that they lost were impossible. But for whatever reason, they just can break down in the dumbest of ways. It's frustrating to watch because I feel like, I mean, selfishly, I would want Falcons to be a clear top 5 along with Spirit, Mongols, Maus, Vitality. But in terms of what they actually showed, I think I know you watched everything they've done since the break, but they are just integrating a new player who I don't actually think has that much of he's not really used to playing in these kinds of systems himself. So even though he did very well, it probably made other people a little bit uncomfortable. And I feel like they're going to smooth some things out. But I mean, if I look at those other 4 elite teams right now, I would probably give Maus, Vitality, and Spirit better chances them to win. And with how the season's going, it's not a bad take just because, yeah, I guess if you're betting the field over Falcons, the field is probably going to win because of how strong the top teams are. So I guess it's a good take in that sense.
They lost to Furia, by the way. Just adding that.
Who are like on the cusp of elite, but not really. They haven't really entered that top 4.
The problem with this is
like,
it's not as hot a take, is it, when we just had a season where one team won everything, and then I guess in theory, because you included PGLs, that makes it slightly spicier. But like, if Vitality is the best ever and they win everything anyway, it won't matter how good Falcons is. Like, you could still lose. Like, that can happen if you're the second or third best team. With that said, though, and also then I'll add in, it's really hard to win tournaments. It's not even about, by the way, being like, doesn't Mouse Sports show? It's not even about being really good. Like, sometimes people don't know. I think Mouse Sports has like the highest average placing aside from Vitality in the whole year because they're like always top 4 guaranteed no matter what. So, but to actually win is really fucking hard. So, like, obviously, I would never say they're a favourite to win an event, but the idea they won't win any, especially the PGL one's too far for me, mate. If you said it in like major events where you might have to play like Vitality in a BO5, okay, but the idea that you can't win a PGL, like, bro, at the fucking Astralis was in one of those finals with Huxley. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we've had some dodgy ass PGL semi-finalists and finalists. So that one, I don't know about that. I would have just kept it to like ST ESL event type blast type major events, not bounty. If you kept it to the legit ones, maybe. But even then, I think the problem is a lot of the sort of weight of this argument is that Vitality does exist, and almost certainly I think will bounce back. Like, the biggest joke of all of that was like, if someone like ZywOo actually plays shit for his level and then Flames gets 1 kill on a map, yeah, everyone can lose, mate. Like, that's not actually that crazy when you look at it. So I don't know, I'm sort of in the middle on this one because I still do think I tell you what, I won't do the whole side rack because we haven't got time for it. But if anyone watches the recent Feed the Trolls episode that was about like all these rookie players, and we obviously talk about Kiyosuke and Falcons, I did make a point that I am kind of bored of people ignoring, which is how can all of it only be Zonic's fault? I don't get it. Like, Nico is playing the shit shittest like 3 months of his entire career so far, right? By the way, I'm sorry, does everyone not praise Nico for making calls and having autonomy in the game? Then Monassi, everyone praises him as an AWPer for being an AWPer. You don't tell what to do. He's not a system AWPer. He goes and does what he wants. And then you've added KSOK, who was a guy who just had the whole game built around him and did whatever he wanted, seemingly in spirit of cat. Don't all these players just freelance? Like, how much freelancing do you get before like you can't blame the coach? Like, at the end of the day, if I took all these players and put them in a system and took away all their agency, wouldn't everyone say I'm doing a bad job, coach? Like, I don't actually know at this point how you win if you're Zonic on this one. You just have to win in the server, that's it. And even then, everyone will just say you spent 20 million. So at this point, it's fucking joking it. So I think the problem with this team really right now is this is why it's actually a good hot take overall, because I do think the difference is the stakes are enormous. Like, who knows how, but if they can make it work with the players in this team, they could win every tournament, mate. That's why it's actually a good hot take. It's just the question is, if you don't believe they can ever be a functional team, then yeah, they won't win any tournaments. That's the amazing thing about CS, right? We have had super teams where they look fucking amazing on paper, but they don't actually win in the server to the degree you expect. So I don't hate it.
The thing is, like, just to add, like, to your point about Zonic, right? I don't blame only Zonic. I targeted him and Lars because of, like, 18 months, 20 months, and all these players and blah, 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 whatever, right? But there is also a responsibility for other players.
Yeah,
I'll give you an example of, like, let's say Tessis, right? As good as he is and, you know, his anchor spot, like, there are rounds on Dust 2 where he misses the top mid smoke, the door smoke for Dust 2, right? That directly kills Kixon, who was crossing middle, and he dies to an op, right? And it kills the round immediately. They had to scramble. Like, those things, you cannot blame Zonic for that one, right? He probably had an idea of what round needs to be done. The round would probably be a little bit better or maybe a better chance to win. But then you have the guy who is paid, what, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000. Allow him to miss the smoke and kill, and his teammates gets killed because of it. The thing that I blame in-game Zonic for is probably the end of the rounds, like the structure of the rounds. Like, I don't see any depth. I don't see any tactical, like, thinking in those rounds, like his Ibit Spirit, even by Vitality, who relies more on individualistic skills, but they have a lot of structure, and not to mention Maus and other teams. Overall, it's not only
here's
Zonic,
what's
right?
funny.
It has responsibility on different teams too.
What might shock you, Kassad, is it's only the Kiyosuke move that actually removes my sympathy for Falcons. You know what? When Zonic recruits that player, Kassad, I have no sympathy for him, because you know what? If you recruit that player and it turns out Nico doesn't work, then you should have kicked Nico and recruited him. Otherwise,
I was gonna say
stick with Nico.
I said it on my
because I think because the dumbest thing about this move is you are the one with infinite money. So no one forced you to recruit another aggressive rifler like Nico. You could have taken the best anchors in the world, literally, to make a list and go from 1 to 5 and offer them all $3 million. You will have the next player that you want.
Anyone.
And tomorrow that team works. So I don't know why you've chosen to create. That's why I said on a past one that actually this is what will win Zonic his reputation back. If this team works, he has reinvented Counter-Strike in a way we don't understand with how the roles work. But then also the other reason I think that I have no sympathy for him is the comment that everyone else takes as no big deal out of that boot camp with no PCs. I don't give a fuck whether there was a PC there. What I care about is that everyone's fine with that comment where Kiyosuke said, I understood about 30% of what people were saying to me. In a fucking English language team, you have recruited for millions of dollars a player who doesn't speak colloquial English to an English language team, and now you're going to tell me, you won't believe it, Thorin, we've got like role overlaps and we can't understand each other and get tactical. Well, I wonder why! What are you doing? And by the way, the reason this kills me is because, in theory, Nico was involved with this decision. That's what we're supposed to believe, right? Here's one of the people who said, yeah, get this guy. Right? The reason why that sucks is because Yanko told me years ago in an interview, a comment by Nico I've referenced many times, which is he said that one of the things Nico and people like that learned from being in FaZe Clan is that the right call 1 second late becomes the wrong call. Right? How about the right call that can't even be understood by someone else? That is always the wrong call. Like, that is so... That detail, by the way, look, it hasn't like decided the fate of the team yet. Maybe he exaggerated it, but that was I found that comment really alarming because I then thought back on it the second they bombed this tournament. I was like, well, no wonder you just play like headless chickens who don't know fucking style of play. Like, by the way, what you see even is an amazing Nico mid-round call if I don't understand what it means and how I can't immediately act on it. Like, you've just taken away all of the power of the team. So that's why, in a weird way, in that sense, I don't have as much sympathy. I think essentially that's the ultimate gamble, Kassad. You either are going to show like like basically like I am the greatest of all time. I can do things you can't even imagine with the game, or I have just done like one of the biggest high profile like fail transfers ever. It's got to be one of the two in my opinion.
Give me 45 more seconds before you go into your point.
By the way, here's the joke. You know what, Kassad? I'll spin it another way. Here's my hot take. You're either right. They either win no tournaments or they win like 4 tournaments, bro. There you go. It's only one or the other. Because you know what I mean? If it works, by the way, it's going to be one of the most insane teams ever. But if it doesn't, it could completely not work at all. I think that's what's mad about it.
The thing is, they don't have the honeymoon period ever. Like, they counted on that one, probably. That's not happening. But the thing is, like, I said the same thing on the Serbian show that I do. Like, they, similar to what you said, basically, the wrong move, right? They needed a center back and they replaced Virgil van Dijk with fucking Haaland. Like, it doesn't work that way. And you said it nicely. Any kind of top 5 anchors would join that team because of the players, because of the financials. There is not a single player that would say no. And you decided to go for a superstar, and then you might as well kick Nico and just send him somewhere else. And I didn't even know about the fucking 30% thing.
I mean, that's just what it was said on an interview, but I believe it's on HLTV.org. Someone looks it up. It says something like only stood about 30%, and someone honestly was translated for me or something weird like that.
Just imagine.
And by the way, it doesn't even have to be Kassad that crazy. Do you know what? I would have way more sympathy for the project if you'd recruited Perfecto instead of this. You know what I mean? If you'd have tried to make the roles work and try and actually make a functional, normal team, you know.
And cut down on your fucking vacation as well. Like, you want to be the best, you want to be the number one. Take Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. They didn't have fucking summer vacations all the time when they fucking bombed the season in whatever, 88 or 95, 96, 97, whatever the fuck year was. They went immediately to work. Like, you cut the vacation short instead of posting pictures from fucking boats and fucking whatever the fuck you do, right?
Boys, I've got it. Do you want to spin into my hot take?
Learn some fucking English to the new player so he can understand your calls. Yeah, go for it.
Right, let's spin into my hot take. Now, here's what's funny. At the time I'm doing this hot take, you won't think it's that hot because obviously Spirit just won IM Cologne, didn't they? But I will remind you all of some context right now, which is not a single person on the entire internet that I know that is famous in Counter-Strike has said the following words: Spirit is the number one team in Counter-Strike right now. Nobody has said that. In fact, I think most people, if you actually sat most experts and top players down, they would say, yeah, but if Vitality had made the final, they would have won the best of 5 and they would have won the tournament. Like, they would have beaten Spirit. I don't think Spirit could probably beat them in BF5. So as a result, the reason I bring all this up is, and also you can add in a few other details, who did Spirit beat to win the event? They beat Maus in the final, who played like shit. They beat Na'Vi, who's a bit ropey right now, and that's it. They didn't play, Falcons wasn't good. They didn't meet any Vitality. Like, it wasn't that hard to run. And then also, lastly, if you ever look, they didn't actually have to even stretch their map pool much. The Jokers didn't even play their own fucking best map, just 2, except one time or something. So here's the hot take. The hot take, though, is that Spirit is going to win the Budapest Major. And here's why. Because the best reason to believe Spirit can win the Budapest Major is actually at IM Cologne. It's that, bro, they've got nothing so far out of ZywOo. What's mad is he might have one of the most like fraudulent first massive tournament wins I've ever seen, because he did almost nothing. All he is like a tiny bit better than Magic's, but probably with less of the like intangibles. Like, and so far for me, this is probably going to be his worst tournament. Like, I expect him to get way better as a tournament. So if he adds even like 10% fragging to the game, by the way, his roles, they even said, Hallie, if you look up this interview, Hallie said nearly all of his roles were new to him. They weren't the roles he had in past teams, and they weren't like before. So they've switched. So I think if you give this guy a time to acclimatise, he doesn't have to be way better, by the way. I only need a tiny bit more. That plus what I've already seen. Put it this way, the area where I am sort of on the train that Donk's going to be the GOAT is, he's done that thing that people like Simple did do at their peak, where I no longer worry about how you're going to play. I already know you're going to get the 30 bomb and you're going to frag out a lot. You're going to win all these. And then I just worry about the other players in the team, which, by the way, is nuts. But so I think already, by the way, Donk can win you any of these tournaments. Shiro, look, he's always up and down, but when he hits like this, you get really nice performances. And by the way, he also, crucially, in the modern day, Shiro does something he didn't do as much before, which is he also seems to have his big series to like pick up the slack. Not when Donk's bad, but when there's like a slight downturn from Donk. That's how many times that Shiro has his carry series then. So all you need, I think, is a little bit from ZywOo, and you can win this. I'm going to say it, they win the Budapest Major. Look, it's a fucking Hail Mary, but I'm going for it, boys. It's months away. I'm going for it.
I'd still take Vitality.
Yeah, that's why it's a hot take. We keep going.
Yeah, I know. It's a good take. They're probably the second best team right now. Like, I mean, they have to be practically, but I still.
And am I missing it? Didn't a lot of people actually have Mouse win in the final before the game played? I feel like most people thought Mouse would win this tournament. Am I wrong?
I'm not really actually sure what I saw more of. If I'm being real, I think I saw.
Fair enough.
I think I saw some. I saw a murmuring of spirit.
Okay.
I'd say. But no, I think what we're getting is we're kind of still getting that Astralis era, but where Simple is now Donk, Vitality is Astralis, and Donk's electronic is basically Shiro. It's like you flip those roles. I feel like we're getting the same pattern again, and I'm just doing a little bit of pattern recognition here, which can be dangerous, but it's where I'm headed with this one, where it's just that Vitality doesn't have. ZywOo might even win #1 player on HLTV's list, but for my money, Donk's the best player we've got right now. He's doing things nobody else can do, just like Simple did. But the composite pieces of Vitality show no weaknesses. I know they lost to Maus, but if you run every tournament 10 times, I'd say that they're winning 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 of those instances. So I'm still on the Vitality train unless their loss to Maus actually is setting a precedent that they are on a downswing. But right now I'm betting against that.
The thing is, I can't bet against Donk. That's the problem. Like
you did before. You did before.
Well, I can't do it now because what I've seen again and again and again and again.
Proven wrong.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's just I'm not gonna go into Donk being the best again. Like we went over that one. The thing is, I'm worried, and I have to. I like the take. I wish I said it myself, but I'm gonna tag along on the Hail Mary thing. And I'm going to support it, and I'm going to say the same thing as Duncan. I'm going to say that Spirit is going to win that major for several reasons. Obviously, we covered Donk, we covered Spirit, with Zwei against Magix, whatever, right? Played a little bit better on the unusual spots. But nobody mentioned Vitality and what this defeat is going to do to them, and we don't know how they're going to react. We have players like ZywOo. I don't worry about ZywOo, and I don't worry about Robs too much. I would be worrying about Apex, how he's going to be handling. He was never in this spot. Flames was never in this spot. Messi definitely was never in this spot. He was never #1 for so long. Nobody did it since God knows when. And all of a sudden you find yourself, okay, maybe there are some doubts. Maybe there are some cracks. Teams can beat us. The other teams can see that, Vitality can be defeated if you play a certain way, if you do certain things. There is a world where they don't take it. Maybe for the majority of 95% people would say Vitality is #1 favorite. I would say about 5% hardcore, lunatics would say that, something else would happen. And I do agree with that one because the confidence wave of Spirit, if it doesn't drop massively by some fucking ridiculous run on a couple of events or ridiculous losses, they're going to be the #1 favorites. If Vitality, on the other hand, loses one more event like they did, they're playing the Esports World Cup or whatever. It's a single elimination, and there is Pro League after. I don't know what is next after that. It can happen. And then what happens? Are they going to switch something up? Are they going to change the way they approach the game or preparation for the game? Is that going to what's going to happen? On the other side, you're going to have Spirit just skyrocketing up. And by the time we get to the Budapest Major, they're going to be the #1 favorite. And then all of a sudden, instead of the 95%, we're going to have 60-40, 65-35, 55-45. And then all of us lunatics are not going to be crazy anymore. And then we're going to see what's going to happen in the major. So I do like taking the early action on Spirit right now. Even crazier would be if you said it before Cologne.
I know, but I didn't, sadly.
But
could have done
But this one is crazy enough for me, myself, to just jump on it and be
By the way, here's why I don't want anyone to ever tell me it's not a hot take either. Because notice within the hot take, it actually does contain the reason I actually think. I realised this recently, Maui. No one's ever formalised it this way. Because when you see how many championships Michael Jordan won, obviously you give credit to his team and his coach. People forget this detail. He had to average 30 points per game in the playoffs to do all that.
Yeah.
So it's the same as Donk. Yeah. By the way, you know what? This is a hot take itself. Every tournament Spirit ever wins that's an ST tournament shouldn't happen. happen because Donk has to do like 1.4 rating to make these wins happen. Like, bro, I always tell people the opening map of Cologne was them winning 16-14 over fucking Heroic, who just kicked all their players right after the tournament because Donk brought the 30 bomb at 100 ADR. Like, bro, the problem is, in theory, I should look at this and go, well, no one can do that. No one should be expected to. But not only can he do it, I expect him to do it. So if you notice, it's why I didn't even make maybe Donk has to have a good tournament. I just put ZywOo in the back of the team, has to do all right, and then they win. Like, that's how inevitable Donk feels. He's done some Thanos shit, mate. No one can stop this motherfucker. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And what people don't know is this. Notice how he's not just getting his props from all the young players. No, everyone gives it up. Like I say, he's just undeniable, mate. It does remind me of Simple in 2018. I should probably do a video about that topic one day. But very briefly, I always tell people, Simple was essentially so good in front of our eyes, it even made HLTV people become like deprogrammed. Like, shit, we better stop just giving the person who's in the winning team the MVP all the time. Like, they started having to do that for real because they just knew like what they were seeing. It's like, I'd be a fucking dickhead if I keep saying the other team has the best player in the tournament, innit? So, okay, let's spin and do this fan take, okay? Fucking hell. Right, so get ready. This is a good one. It's a similar one. So I want to see how people take this. Donkey, that's actually his name. Spelt like the one out of Shrek. Donkey, so okay, we're going to beat his ass. Says, despite ZywOo, he's doing the classic one that everyone wants to talk about, so let's do it, boys. Despite ZywOo having 7 tournaments in a row, this is before Cologne, obviously, including Katowice in the major, winning 37 series in a row, 7 MVPs. He says Donk is still the number 1 player this year. Not only is Donk the number 1 player this year, I think he deserves it even more than last year. He is on an objectively worse team this year than Vitality, and with the stats revelation that Spirit has a 0% map win rate whenever Donk isn't putting up numbers, it even furthers his claim. What do you think, boys?
I think he's as smart as the real donkey. So the IQ is the same.
Okay.
I don't think that can be comparable because he gave the reason himself. They won 7 events in a row. Like, the difference between those two players in stats wise is not that high, is it? Right? And the fact that one team, that performance helped one team to win 7 events, and the performance of other players helped that team to win what? 1? What did they win?
You know, the take is that Donk's the real number 1 player, yeah?
Yeah, I know,
okay,
but he isn't. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Whoa. He always does it, Maui. He's a fucking. He's actually. He is like. Listen, don't take offense at the term. He's like an idiot savant. You know what? He's Kassad's the guy they find in India who can't even read, and the second he starts reading a book, just knows all advanced mathematics without knowing it. Like, but only on the topic of hot takes, Maui, not actual mathematics. Something cool. So essentially, the take you've come up with after all you've just said for the last 40 minutes is that actually at the end of the year, ZywOo's the number 1 player of the year.
Yeah.
Explain this to us. Explain it to us. Come on. Okay. How does this work? Okay.
Despite 7 of the 7 MVPs, 7 trophies, you cannot say that. Like, because like I said, even if the next, how many big events are going to be till the end of the year? Like,
at least 4 or 5, I'm going to guess, right?
Let's say 4. Let's say 4, right?
Sounds
Plus Cologne, right? That's 5, right? Let's say 5.
Yeah.
Even if Spirit wins all 5, and he gets the MVP on all 4, and this one including, that's going to be the 5th on Cologne. Is it still going to be counted as the best player because it's closer to the end of the year and people forgot what ZywOo did in February, March?
Bias,
That would be stupid,
that
right?
Could happen,
that would be stupid because we talked about, Vitality's era for the last 6-7 months after the Robs joining, and they're unbeatable, and they were unbeatable, scary team, whatever. And now Spirit comes and we all forget about this season. Like, just not going to happen. We talked about Donk being an alien, like super fucking insane player, and probably the future GOAT. But this year ZywOo's performance helped this team massively to be where it is right now. Meanwhile, Donk performance, as good as it was, didn't get them even close to Vitality. If the race was close between those two, we can speak about it. But was it close between Vitality and Spirit? No, it was closer between Vitality and Maus than Vitality and Falcons, for fuck's sake, right? So in my mind, I'm just looking at it from that way. Like, ZywOo's stats and his game and his season massively pushed Vitality to this unbelievable, undefeatable season, right? Meanwhile, this insane performance from Donk as good as he is, didn't put Spirit in any kind of contention for the number one for the past 6 months. So for me, ZywOo takes it, no matter what happens.
By the way, that's the headline, editor. The headline is ZywOo is the player of the year. That's the headline, because that's going to make... What's best is someone's going to think me or you said it about me. We didn't know. But what's your take on this, Maui? As usual, the kassad take almost more shocking than the original hot take. But answer whichever one you want. Go for it.
Well, my knee jerk is that Donk is the best player in Counter-Strike right now. That's my knee jerk. But if you want to go to what I predict HLTV will do, I think they're going to have ZywOo at number one. And I still can't ignore what ZywOo did in a few of the big tournaments that happened this year. Okay, he was a monster at the Major. He was great at Katowice. I mean, Donk has the one Cologne. I mean, but something I think about and why I say Donk is the best right now is again kind of referring back to over replacement. If you put the second best operator in the world right now in ZywOo's stead on Vitality, I think they still win 60%, maybe 80% of the tournaments that they already won. But if you put the second best entry fragger or even just any star rifler in for Donk, Spirit wins 0% of the tournaments that they have won of the past 8 months. Like, it has to be Donk or nobody. So that's why I think Donk's the best. But if I'm really judging their year and how it went, like there's slightly different criteria for me. I break it down in different ways. And so I would say that ZywOo's had the best year as an individual so far, for sure. Like, but that doesn't mean he's the best in my eyes. It's just slightly different. It's kind of becoming a semantic argument.
The problem I have is this. Like, this is where it's weird. So all I would say is you must define your criteria before you decide. Don't decide and then go, well, no, this reason. No, you have to decide before. So essentially, there's two ways you can do player of the year, a bit like I just said about GOAT discussion. You either just do who was the best player in CS. That's it. Just who you watch the game, who was the best. If that's true, Donk can win it. That's fine. By the way, he can also win it anyway if he wins Cologne and then he wins like a major, etc.
Yeah.
You know, if you get the thing, he doesn't have to have as many kassad, but I agree. He has to have it has to be close enough that then people can do all the discussions that we had earlier of but he's in a harder role and he's not much more to tell. If he gets 3 or 4 big titles, that probably is close enough for some fan, assuming Vitality doesn't win more. My problem is, though, I very much agree with what kassad says too. Assuming this is like the GOAT discussion, so it has to include championships and winning things, etc. Then I agree. I actually think now that it's gone too far the other way, and now people are actually downplaying what ZywOo did. Right? The real reason is there's 2 reasons why. Because ZywOo just came off quite a shit Cologne, and in the final of the Major he didn't look good, and that has actually done so much damage, recency bias wise, in people's memories. And what they're forgetting is, I agree with you, kassad. Every fucking match almost up until the final of that Major, this guy was the best player in the server, basically. He was, and by the way, you could argue in the world. And also, when they go, I agree, it's something I've said many times, if the stats are equal, then Donk wins, because I think his role is harder and he has more to do. But you can't act like his stats are 2 times better than ZywOo's. ZywOo still has unbelievable numbers. The joke is, if Donk didn't exist, we would now be having the discussion, is ZywOo the best, CS player of any version of the game ever. So don't ever downplay that, because I agree with you, kassad. You can give someone all the vehicle, even if you do the Maui thing, I agree. In theory, a Monacy in peak form could do comparable things. But 1, he hasn't. I haven't seen him do that yet. And 2, it'd still be really hard. You'd still have to basically be doing a 9 out of 10 performance most games. Because the other thing is as well, I agree. I think ZywOo has loads of help now. He has awesome pieces, but he still does have to put crazy production up. That is still, and he does it, by the way. He does it anyway. So I think I'll never disrespect that. I will say, if you're a ZywOo fan, kind of fucking rich, isn't it, when you all talk shit on 2021 Na'Vi because they had all that amazing players and simple at the numbers. Guess what? It's actually easier to be really great in an awesome team, but if you're really, really insanely all-time great, you were also simultaneously all-time great and an awesome team as well, which is what ZywOo's doing, by the way. And also, spoiler, I actually predict that obviously ZywOo will just bounce right back and be really good. I don't think this, he's not on some Nico bad 3 months. He probably had one tournament and 1 match, and I bet the next tournament he'll just smurf everyone. So I think it's way more debatable. That's the one thing I hate is, notice these discussions always become and the other guy was just robbed. It's by the way, neither of these 2 players can be robbed, in my opinion. No matter who was number 1 at the end of the year, Donk or ZywOo, they weren't robbed.
Yeah.
You just disagree. The difference is there's been years where I do think people are robbed, but this is not one of them, in my opinion. These are both absolutely worthy candidates. In fact, as we pointed out, the cases are different. Like, basically, the donk one is sort of like, what would he do also if he had the better team? The ZywOo one is what he is doing. So it's actually quite interesting sort of philosophical discussion about CS2.